I never planned to stay late that night. The gym was almost empty, lights humming above the weight racks, the smell of metal and disinfectant thick in the air. I told myself one more set, one more try, then I'd leave. But she was still there, watching. My trainer, Vanessa. Mid-30s, lean, sharp, the kind of presence that made every man straighten his posture. She was finishing with another client when our eyes met in the mirror. Just a glance, but it hit like static. I looked away first. She didn't. When the room cleared, she came over, tying her ponytail tighter. "You've been lifting wrong all week," she said. Her tone wasn't scolding, more like a dare. She stood behind me, pressed her palm between my shoulder blades, and told me to breathe slower. Her voice dropped lower with each word, until I could feel the vibration of it through her chest against my back. "Again," she said. "Inhale. Flex here." Her hand slid slightly forward, fingers tracing the edge of my ribs. It wasn't an accident. And yet, if someone had walked in, she could have said it was. I didn't move, couldn't. "You tense up too fast," she murmured. "You think too much. This isn't about showing off." Then she leaned closer, close enough that her breath brushed my neck. "It's about control." That word stayed with me. Control. I exhaled, but my pulse didn't slow. She stepped back and watched me finish the set. Every rep felt like walking a line I wasn't supposed to cross. When I turned to rack the weights, she was still looking, one eyebrow slightly raised, like she was testing how far I'd go. When I wiped my face with a towel, she caught my wrist. "You're not leaving yet. I've done my reps. Not how I want them." Her grip tightened just enough to make the air shift. "You'll stay until I say we're done." I looked around. The main floor was empty now, lights dimmed in half the hall. Through the glass wall, I could see the front desk girl packing her bag. Only the two of us remained. "Vanessa," I said carefully, "if anyone sees." "No one's watching," she cut in. I glanced up and spotted the small black lens in the corner ceiling. "Except that camera," I said quietly. She followed my gaze, then smiled. "Relax. That one's fake. I asked them to install it for show." "For show? People behave better when they think someone's watching." She tilted her head. "Don't you?" Her words landed heavier than the weights I'd been lifting. For a moment, silence wrapped around us. The hum of the air vents, the faint click of her stopwatch. I could feel her eyes on me, studying not just form but reaction. Then she nodded toward the wall mirrors. "Again," she said softly. "Back to the bench." This time she didn't touch me. She just stood close enough that I could see her reflection behind mine. The mirror caught every breath, every flicker of hesitation. When I faltered, she moved in, pressing her palm to my chest. "Don't collapse," she whispered. "Hold it. Right there." My muscles burned. My heartbeat filled the silence. Then, just as I lowered the bar, the door at the far end of the hall opened. Voices echoed, the cleaning staff laughing, talking in Spanish. We both froze. "Stay still," she said under her breath. "They'll see us." "Not if you stay exactly where you are." The lights in the hallway flickered as the janitor passed. Through the mirror, I saw her reflection, calm, composed, like nothing could touch her. My arms trembled under the weight, but she didn't move until the voices faded away. When the hallway went quiet again, she finally stepped back. "You're learning," she said with a smile that didn't quite hide something darker. "But you have to trust me. In here, you do exactly what I say. No questions. No names. No stories outside these walls." It wasn't just a rule. It sounded like a pact. I nodded, even though my throat felt dry. She handed me my towel, her fingers brushing mine longer than necessary. Good, she said quietly. Then we understand each other. She turned away to reset the weights. I thought it was over. I started toward the lockers, feeling the burn in my arms and the strange pull in my chest. But before I reached the door, her voice cut through the music. Hey! I turned. She was standing by the wall mirror again, arms crossed, expression unreadable. We're not done, she said. I thought. Tomorrow, she interrupted. Same time. You'll show me you can hold it longer. I hesitated in the doorway. The hum of the lights seemed louder, the air thicker. Somewhere above, thunder rolled outside, a storm moving in. She looked at me through the mirror, eyes glinting under the neon. Don't be late, she said, or I'll come find you. I didn't answer. I just stood there, heart pounding, realizing I was already planning to come back. The next evening I was early. Too early. I lingered outside the private studio hall, pretending to scroll through my phone while my reflection stared back at me from the tinted glass door. Behind it, silence. Just the soft thump of distant music and the hum of the overhead fluorescents. Vanessa had sent no message, no reminder, no confirmation. Still, I was here. At exactly 9:01, the lock clicked from the inside. The door cracked open just enough for me to see her eyes, dark and unreadable. No words, just a small nod. I stepped inside. The private training room was smaller, quieter. No mirrors, no cameras. Just a thick rubber mat, 2 benches, a rack of free weights, and a dim lamp in the corner casting long shadows on the floor. She'd changed. Tight black leggings, cropped zip hoodie, hair pinned up messily. No name tag, no clipboard, only a Bluetooth speaker in the corner playing a low, steady beat. Take off your shoes, she said. I obeyed. Phone. I hesitated. She held out her hand. Reluctantly, I placed it in her palm. She dropped it into a locker and spun the code dial. No distractions, she said. Not tonight. I exhaled slowly. The floor felt cold under my socks. She moved closer, walking around me slowly, like a sculptor circling unfinished stone. Show me your stance. I squared my feet, tried to stay composed. She stepped in, adjusted my elbows. Her fingers grazed my chest. Lighter this time, more precise. Her touch wasn't lingering anymore. It was claiming. Hold it, she whispered. Breathe with me. She placed her hand on my abdomen. I didn't flinch this time. You've been tense since you walked in. I didn't know if this was happening again. She paused. Her eyes flicked up to mine. And now that it is? I didn't answer. The silence said enough. She stepped back and picked up a towel from the bench, dark gray, gym issued. But embroidered in the corner was something personal. VC. Her initials. She tossed it to me. Use mine. Yours was too clean. The towel felt heavy in my hand, like it meant something more. We moved through sets, close quarters, breathless moments. Her hands corrected me with purpose, but her voice grew softer each time. At one point, she adjusted my grip from behind, and her body aligned with mine. Her chin just over my shoulder, her breath hot against my neck. You feel that? She asked. Yeah. That's where I want your control to start. From the inside. Footsteps passed outside. Muffled voices. Someone jiggled the studio door handle. I froze. She didn't move. Whoever it was walked off after a few seconds, the sound fading down the hall. Vanessa finally stepped away, brushing her hair back like nothing happened. Who was that? I asked. Probably Luis. Or someone from the front desk. Do they have a key? No, she smirked. Only I do. The air felt heavier after that. We continued slower now, focused on form, balance, and breath. but the atmosphere had shifted. There was something coiled beneath every movement. When she asked me to hold a plank position, she knelt beside me. Her hands slid along my spine, stopping at my lower back. She left it there. "You're holding tension here," she said, pressing down slightly. I didn't reply. "Want me to help you release it?" The question hung there, unanswered. I turned my head toward her, our faces suddenly inches apart. She didn't smile, didn't blink. Her hand moved, up my back, slow, deliberate. My breathing slowed. My muscles didn't shake from the plank anymore. They trembled for another reason. I shifted slightly, and our shoulders touched, skin to skin. Her fingers curled at the base of my neck. And then, a knock, loud, sharp, immediate. We sprang apart. A voice. "Vanessa? You still in there?" It was a man, older, confident tone. She didn't answer. Her hand flew to the speaker, killing the music. We stayed frozen, listening. "Front desk is locking up in 5. You need out." She cleared her throat. "No, I've got my own key." "All right. Night." We listened as the steps retreated again. She leaned back against the wall, exhaled hard. "That," she said quietly, "was my old supervisor, the one I never introduce." I sat back on the mat, heart racing. "What would he think?" I asked. She looked at me. "Does it matter?" Silence. She pushed off the wall and walked to her locker. When she turned back, she tossed something at me. Her gym badge. I caught it midair. "What's this?" "Scan-in access. Back door. South entrance. 10:30. Tomorrow night." I stared at the card in my hand. It still smelled faintly of her. She opened the door just a crack and looked out before turning back. "Don't use the main entrance. And don't say my name." I nodded. Vanessa's voice dropped just above a whisper. "If anyone asks, you were never here." The card worked. When I scanned it at the back entrance the next night, the small red light blinked green, and the lock disengaged with a click that sounded louder than it should have. I slipped inside, shutting the door quietly behind me. The hallway was darker than usual. Most of the lights were off except for the security strips along the floor, casting a soft blue glow up the walls. It was late, 10:34, past closing, past the time for anyone to be here. And yet, her voice still echoed in my head. 10:30, south entrance. Don't say my name. I moved quietly through the corridor toward the private studio. The badge still hung from my neck, warm now from where it rested against my chest. What had started as a symbol of secrecy was beginning to feel like something else, like proof. Not just that this was real, but that I wanted more of it. When I entered the room, she was already there, stretching on the mat in silence. No music, no lights but the one-corner lamp again. She didn't look up. "You're late. By 4 minutes. Still late." She stayed on the floor, one leg extended, the other bent, hands folded behind her on the mat. The zipper of her hoodie was halfway down, exposing a thin black tank underneath. Her skin glistened faintly. She'd already started without me. I dropped to the mat beside her. "Wasn't sure if I should come." She looked at me now. "But you did." I nodded. "Even after last time?" "Especially after last time." A slow smirk curved her lips, but there was a flicker in her eyes, something cautious. She reached beside her and handed me a familiar object, the towel with her initials. I took it. No hesitation this time. We trained harder that night. She pushed me further. No flirtation, no whispers, just commands, sweat, and breath. But the space between us felt sharper. Not distant, just restrained, controlled, until it slipped. I was on the mat, finishing a plank hold, when the studio door suddenly rattled. Not a knock, not a test. An actual attempt to open it. The lock held, but my heart didn't. Vanessa turned to the door, expression unreadable. Then came the voice, familiar and firm. "Vanessa, you left your bag upstairs. Thought you might still be here." I knew that voice. It was my friend Jake's father, one of the gym owners. And also, as I'd recently learned, her ex. I turned toward her. Her jaw was clenched. She didn't move. "You okay in there?" he called again. She finally stepped to the door. I watched her hand hover over the lock, then drop. "I'm good," she said, voice steady. "Just doing inventory." "You want company?" No, that answer came quick. "Almost done. Thanks." A pause. Then footsteps. Slow. Retreating. We stood still for a long moment after the sound faded. Then she turned to me. "I told you," she said quietly. "He still shows up. Always unexpected. Always looking for cracks." I nodded, pulse still racing. "You didn't panic," I said. "Because if I do, he wins." There was silence again. Not the comfortable kind we'd started to build. This one was sharper, edged with consequence. I sat back down on the mat. "You want me to leave?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked over, knelt down in front of me, and placed her hand on my chest, right over my heart. Her fingers were warm, steady. "No," she whispered. "I want you to stop pretending this doesn't matter." The air between us shifted again. Her hand didn't move. My own reached up, not quite touching hers, but close enough to feel the shared heat. "Then say it," I whispered. Her eyes searched mine. For what, I didn't know. And then just one word. "Stay." It wasn't a command. It was a choice. And somehow it was harder than any set she'd ever put me through. I could leave. Walk away now, no harm done. Pretend the door never opened. The room never dimmed. Her hand never settled over my heart. Or I could stay and burn the line we'd been pretending still existed. I reached up, slowly, and closed my hand over hers. "Okay," I said. That was the first moment I saw her blink like something cracked inside. Not a break, more like a lock disengaging. She pulled her hand away and walked to her bag in the corner. "I wasn't going to give this to you yet," she said. From inside, she took out a small folded card and held it up. A handwritten note. No name, just a time, a location. Saturday, 7 p.m. Black gate behind the storage lot. She stepped forward and placed it in my hand. Our fingers brushed again, deliberate this time. "I won't wait long," she said. "So don't be late." Then she walked past me, opened the studio door, now unlocked, and disappeared down the hallway without looking back. I stood alone under the hum of that low corner light, the card warm in my hand, my heartbeat in my ears. Saturday. Black gate. That wasn't a training session. That was something else entirely. Saturday came slower than I wanted it to. Every hour dragged. Every message I ignored weighed heavier. I told Jake I couldn't make the party. Told my mom I was heading out of town. I silenced my phone, powered it off, and tossed it in the glove compartment before I even reached the gym district. I parked 3 blocks away. Walked the last stretch. Hoodie up, head down. The black gate behind the storage lot was barely visible in the shadow of the loading dock. There were no lights, no cameras, just metal and silence. And her. Vanessa stood waiting, back against the gate, arms crossed, wearing a slate gray coat over gym tights and boots. Her hair was down, looser than usual, softer. When she saw me, she didn't smile, just gave a slow nod, like we were picking up a conversation that never really stopped. "I thought you might back out," she said. "I almost did." Why didn't you? You told me not to be late. That got a smile out of her. Tired, crooked, but real. She opened the gate. Inside was a narrow staircase that led up to a second-floor studio space above the storage units. One of those side rentals people used for yoga or personal sessions. Dim lights, no signage, just a key code panel which she punched without looking. We entered. The space was empty, save for a yoga mat, a folded blanket, a small speaker, and 2 foam rollers. The window looked out over the alley. The whole room smelled faintly of eucalyptus and worn leather. Vanessa closed the door behind us and turned the deadbolt. You okay? I asked. She hesitated, then sat on the mat. Not really. I waited. She didn't speak, so I sat beside her. After a long pause, she finally said, You want the truth? I nodded. I didn't come back to this city because I missed it. I came back because I had nowhere else to go. She looked down at her hands. I thought training again would feel safe, controlled, something I could own. Because of him? I asked. She didn't answer. I filed for divorce 2 years ago. No drama, just silence. He didn't fight it, didn't speak, didn't even ask why. She looked at me then, really looked. But he kept the gym, kept the circle, the people, the routine. And I walked away from all of it, only to come back because I didn't know where else I belonged. My throat tightened. I wanted to reach out, but didn't. Not yet. I didn't plan any of this, she said quietly. Not the room, not the badge, not you. I whispered. But you don't regret it? She met my eyes. I'm not sure what I regret anymore. Outside the window, a car passed, headlights sweeping across the ceiling. We both instinctively pulled back from the glass. That's how paranoid I am now, she said with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. He's always around, or someone is. And now, her voice trailed off. Now you're caught in it. I finally reached for her hand. I'm not caught. I walked in. We stayed like that, quiet, connected by fingers and breath, until another sound broke through the stillness. Knocking. Not on the studio door, but somewhere below. Metal on metal. Rhythmic. Someone was checking the outer units. Vanessa tensed. They don't patrol this side. Not on weekends. Another knock. Closer. She stood, crossed to the window, peeked down through the narrow slat. Her breath caught. It's him. My stomach flipped. He followed you? No, she whispered. He followed you. We turned off the lamp, sat in the dark, waited. The steps below got closer, then faded again. When the silence finally returned, I spoke. He suspects. Yes. And this place. She nodded. Compromised. For a long moment we just sat there in the dark. Then she leaned back against the wall, her voice barely audible. You should stop this. All of it. I stared at her silhouette in the moonlight. And what if I don't want to? She didn't answer with words. She leaned in, rested her forehead against mine, let herself exhale. We stayed there, breath to breath, the moment stretching so tight I thought it might snap. But it didn't. She pulled away. We can't use this place again. It's done. So what now? I asked. She stood, walked over to the corner, pulled her coat from the hook, and slid something from the pocket. She handed it to me without a word. A hotel key card. No name, no logo, just a room number scribbled in marker. Room 414, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Her voice was steady now. If we're going to risk this, we do it away from his world. No more gym, no more back doors, just us. I looked at the card in my hand, then at her. I'll be there, I said. I know. She opened the door, peeked out, then disappeared down the steps. I waited 5 minutes before leaving. When I finally stepped out into the night, wind sharp against my skin, the weight of that key card in my hand felt heavier than it should have. Because now it wasn't just about desire. It was defiance. The hallway outside room for 14 smelled faintly of carpet glue and cheap cologne. One of those renovated hotels on the edge of the city, not bad but impersonal. Clean in a way that felt temporary. Nothing on the walls. No sound behind the other doors. I stood in front of the room for a long time. The keycard in my hand had started to bend slightly from the pressure of my grip. Felt less like plastic now and more like a weight. I could still leave. No one knew I was here. I told Jake I had night classes all week. Left my phone off since noon. Ignored every pang of guilt or instinct that said this was dangerous. But it wasn't just lust anymore. I wasn't walking into a room. I was stepping over a line we'd drawn ourselves. I slid the card through the reader. Green light. Soft click. Inside quiet. The room was dim, lit only by the floor lamp near the window. Curtains drawn. TV off. A chair pulled out from the desk. The bed untouched. And her. Vanessa was seated on the edge of the bed. Back straight. Coat still on. Her hair was loose again. Lips pressed in that unreadable line I'd memorized. When she looked up, something flickered in her face. Relief, maybe, or just the release of a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "You came," she said. "You asked me to. I wasn't sure if you still would." "I wasn't sure either." She stood slowly, walked over, stopped just short of me. "I keep thinking there's a version of this where it all ends badly. There's a version of everything that ends badly," I said. She smiled. "You always say the right thing. It's annoying." I smiled back. "You always say nothing." Vanessa stepped closer, her hand brushing mine. "Not by accident." "Then let me fix that." And she kissed me. No hesitation. No teasing. No air left between us. Just heat and finality and the sound of her coat sliding to the floor. I kissed her back, pulling her closer, until the room shrank and time bent and the weight of every choice disappeared beneath touch. There were no rules in that hour. No gym. No owners. No cameras. No danger. Just breath and skin and finally, the answer to every unspoken question between us. We didn't speak for a long time afterward. Just laid in the quiet, the soft hum of the AC filling the silence, our hands laced between us like anchors. Until I said, "So now what?" Vanessa didn't look at me at first, just stared at the ceiling. "I don't want to stop, but I don't want to destroy everything either." "Then we don't stop," I said. "But we keep it ours, not theirs." She turned her head to me. "You sure?" I nodded. "Are you?" She didn't answer. She just reached for her coat and pulled something from the pocket. A folded piece of paper. She handed it to me. I opened it. A list of addresses. Not hotels. Not gyms. Studios. Rentals. Spaces out of the city. Neutral ground. She tapped the second one on the list. There. Sundays. Once a week. No questions. No pressure. I folded the paper and tucked it into my wallet. She leaned in, kissed my shoulder, and whispered, "Then we begin again." 1 week later, I walked up to the studio entrance with my hood up, just like the first night behind the black gate. But this time it wasn't about hiding. It was ritual. Vanessa had already arrived. The door was unlocked. Inside, a mat, a bottle of water with VC initials on it, and that same Bluetooth speaker humming something low and wordless. She stood at the center of the room in black leggings and a slate gray hoodie, arms crossed, face unreadable, but eyes brighter than before. No one else knew. No one else needed to. We trained. We didn't speak much. But every movement was a conversation. Every silence was agreement. This was ours. Just once a week. Just enough. Before I left, she handed me the towel again. The same one. But this time, the initials were different. Not just VC. There was something added in marker beneath them. For control, and the one who broke it. I looked up, and she was already walking toward the door. The hallway light spilled in as she opened it. Then she turned back, her silhouette framed by that thin slice of light, and said, "Same time next Sunday. Don't make me come find you." The door closed behind her. Soft, certain, and I just stood there, towel in hand, heart still racing. As the last glow of hallway light disappeared,